The last really couple of months has been difficult for me for a number of reasons. Um, Earlier this year, I lost my father unexpectedly, sort of came back to that to COVID-19. And then the civil unrest that we've been having, all really spurned from what's happening in the US, but the display of outrage across the world has really just reached into the depths of my soul. It's focused me on navigating cultural differences, exploring the depths of my faith, opening my heart, exposing a lot of my pain, deciding to act and to be able to speak out in this regard, but then also centering myself in order to try to be productive. This has been a very, very difficult time for many of us. And it's been challenging because this is the sort of feeling that you keep inside. I think that for many, many years, and I'm originally from Detroit and have been in New York for quite some time and been in this space for a long time. And I've got a lot of friends and that have helped me navigate this space, but it is a lonely feeling. I think that my good friend Kirk McDonald spent some time with you speaking as well. And a lot of this is really exposing some of the hurt that many of us have in this industry, and that, outside of a number of individuals and I think purity of intent in trying to be able to diversify this industry, we're still not necessarily where we need to be. It's not necessarily anyone's particular fault, but it is one of those things where you do have to, ask yourself, why do we actually find ourselves here? Why does this moment feel different for change? And it certainly does feel that way. And I think that we have to understand that while there's outrage right now, the question will be, where do we actually stand 30, 60, 90 days from now? Are we actually going to make meaningful change in this industry that allows us to be able to recruit, retain, and grow individuals to really focus on diversified voices in every single room across the world, not just America? Better decision making as a result of diversified voices really kind of showcases the fact that diversity is a business imperative and not just a nice thing to do. There are wonderful results associated with this. And I think at the end of the day, being able to showcase that level of diversity is one of the things that drives me and many of the folks that I call close friends in this industry. I've had a lot of different mentors throughout my career, some that look like me and many that don't. I came from Detroit, Michigan, and I started off my career in Wall Street, and there weren't that many people of color in that space. But I found allies in that regard that actually took real interest in my own development. And then I've also been able to find camaraderie in communities of color, like-minded individuals like myself. And I think that what's been interesting around this is that a lot of these organizations, whether it be the Council of Urban Professionals or even in um, my own entrepreneurial venture that I worked on with a number of friends called Black Diamonds Entertainment, it was about being able to bring individuals together that were like-minded just for fellowship. It wasn't necessarily around helping each other professionally initially. It really was about being able to provide a safe space to be able to understand how do you actually deal with the everyday goings on of being a minority in a very, very high profile, highly moving industries across the board, and certainly made that move from financial services into the world of media, technology, and entertainment. And the same is the case here. You've got very, very intelligent individuals that have a high degree of intellect and energy, but the challenge is that there just aren't many people that actually look like you. And it's a definitely lonely feeling. And so, the challenge for me is, as we actually continue to focus on development across the board and seeing very few senior individuals that you can actually find fellowship with, there's strength in numbers. And so for me, it's been something that I've carried out throughout my career. And most recently, I've partnered with a number of individuals, Stephen Wolf Pereira, Kirk McDonald, Danielle Lee, and a number of individuals to focus on I.D.E.A, inclusion, diversity, education, and awareness. And it was really just meant to be a dinner group for us to be able to talk with one another, to try to solve some of these problems together, to be able to actually find an opportunity to be able just to support each other, to be able to actually focus on C-level executives, board positions, and things of that nature. Because there's a lot of focus on bringing people into the industry, but the mentorship and growing piece sometimes gets lost throughout individuals' professional trajectory. It's a challenge for many of us. And certainly as you get to senior levels, you see lesser, fewer and fewer individuals that actually look like you. So the fellowship is something that is extremely, extremely important. But I've been fortunate enough to work for a number of organizations that have had at least individuals that have, I think, been kind enough to be able to lend me an ear. When I worked at Time Warner, Dick Parsons happened to be the chairman and CEO. That was a wonderful mentor. When I worked at Viacom and BET, Deborah Lee and Louis Carr, Ray Goldborn were wonderful mentors for me to be able to actually teach me the business, but also help me understand how to deal with conflict when it was going to arise. How to actually control my energy in ways that are productive, to be able to actually allow individuals to be able to be mentored, and to lift as you climb. While I was being mentored, the expectation is that I was going to mentor individuals as well, and that there's a pipeline of individuals that just want an opportunity. There isn't an ambition gap in this space. There's an access gap. And so there are a lot of organizations that are focused on being able to find talent, but the idea is to be able to give them an opportunity. And that's been really the focus of my professional sort of passion point, in addition to continue to try to do exemplary work when I get an opportunity to do so, is to be able to actually help individuals find their own path.
Alvin, so what are your hopes come out of this whole crisis now, this conversation? What do you hope? What do you expect? Where might this go? Is this time different?
I hope it's different, Andy. It feels different. The idea is that it isn't just people of color that are speaking out. I think you have individuals that feel the level of responsibility for making a real change here. This, for me, the only thing I can think that's akin to this is some of the civil rights movements, where the imagery that people got a chance to see regarding injustice moved their minds and their hearts to action. And I believe that some of that is a catalyst from what we've seen from George Floyd and many other recent injustices. To be quite honest with you, this has been happening for quite some time. It just wasn't necessarily captured on camera the way that it has been most recently. And for me, this is not only about the impacted sort of constituency acting out. This is about making sure that allies partner with underrepresented communities to be able to focus on how do we actually make meaningful change? How do we actually make bold statements? So I think about this notion when everybody, likes to talk about, what does an ally mean? For me, ally is a verb. It is a constant set of actions, not beliefs. And in order to actually call yourself an ally, the question is, well, are you educated about the underrepresented experience, particularly in this case, the Black experience? What exactly are you doing as a result of that? Are you well versed in the history of underrepresented individuals in this country and why people feel the way that they do? The amount of outrage, I don't want this to be a moment in time. So the idea is that, you've got a lot of corporate entities, making statements. We stand with Black Lives Matter, presenting a tremendous amount of financial support for educational institutions, as well as hiring practices and things of that nature. I'd like to be able to help, to hold those entities accountable for some of the platitudes that are actually being stated right now. I don't want this to be a moment in time and then it fizzles away. I do believe that the idea for us right now is to be able to hold senior leadership at every single company accountable for some of the changes that they'd like to see. And this isn't just about a diversity plan or what have you. It needs to be infused into the very body of what people are doing day to day. Diversity isn't a specific just token effort. It's meant to be woven into the fabric of how you make everyday decisions, whether that be in product or policy or the content you put out there in the world. Including diversity of all facets is going to actually allow you to have a better product. We're talking about racial diversity, cultural diversity, ethnic diversity, cognitive diversity. All of these things are important in order for us to figure out what's a better solution for the consumers that are going to allow themselves to be able to consume these products and services. It's an important aspect for us to really stay focused on this as an overall industry. I think we've done a lot. And I do believe that there are a lot of efforts, and the question becomes, do they feel too disparate and actually to make an impact? Should we actually focus on a coalition of the willing that would allow us to be able to set standards and then hold ourselves accountable for expectations and then accountability for this. So I'm hopeful in that regard. I'm participating in a number of dialogues. I definitely feel I'm encouraged. I'm cautiously optimistic about where we are right now. And I'd love to be able to have this continued dialogue a year from now to see have we made meaningful progress.